this session is called Cracking the Thriller Code with the Masters. How many of you are really expecting something very serious to come out of this?
That's serious pressure, man.
No, but the problem is that nobody's raising their hands. They have very low expectations from the four of us out here. That's scary. Okay, so cracking the thriller code is a con job. Okay, this is a James Hadley Chase cover. Okay, how many of you are familiar with James Hadley Chase? Yeah, James Hadley Chase, when I was a kid and we used to travel by trains, I used to love going and buying comics at every station because they used to have James Hadley Chase covers out there. And the covers would always have these women in very revealing clothes and all of that. Okay, and I was very curious about what these books are about. But when I bought them, I realized andar kuch bhi nahi hai. Okay. It's a complete con job. Okay, it's nothing to do with any women on the cover, nothing. Okay, so this session that we have is going to be a little like this. It's called Cracking the Thriller Code, but we are actually going to be having a lot of fun, I hope. Okay, but let's keep up the pretense for a little while, just between the two of us, all of us. Cracking the Thriller Code presumes that there is a code to writing thrillers. What is the secret sauce to writing a thriller? Ashwin, Ravi, Manjari.
Whiskey.
Kiski.
I don't know. I think the code will substantively vary from one author to another. Because, the question is, what is it that is giving you the thrill? Where is the thrill coming from? You can, I don't know if you've looked at the fact that the tadka which is there in a kali dal is a very different tadka to a pili dal or an arhar dal or a Punjabi dal. So the question is, where is that tadka coming from? What is the source of that tadka? For me, for example, I have a series of books in the Bharat series where the thrill does not come from what you would normally associate with a thriller. Instead, it comes from the what if. That is, what if this were true? It's that delicious question. On the other hand, there are books which I have written with Patterson, which are entirely about anticipation. What is behind that door? What will happen now? And I think, every author would have a specific set of raw materials, ingredients, which they can use to produce a thrill. But at heart, a thriller is exactly what Lee Child said, that ask a question in the beginning and answer it by the end. That's pretty much what it is.
Fair enough. What is your tadka? What are those 5 things that you usually draw from?
It depends, but I would say that, the one thing that I have at least found which works for me in the Bharat series is if I use elements that get my adrenaline pumping. For example, history does that to me. The possibility of an overlap between a historical event and a mythological narration, that gets me excited. The possibility that something that we have taken for granted in the world of mythology as a myth, but its overlap with science excites me. So these are different. In fact, if I really think about it, it is not individual elements, whether it's history or mythology or science or philosophy or politics. It is usually the overlap between one or more elements that gets my juices going.
Okay. What about you, Ravi? We all know that you come from, most of your books are about the banking business, but that's where you get your raw material from. But how do you work your thrillers when you look at the business? Obviously, you're very familiar with the shenanigans that happen behind the scenes. But how do you kind of now take that forward as and tell it as a thriller?
See, when I started writing thrillers, I kind of became an accidental thriller writer, in the sense that when I started writing my books, my first few books were more generic stories set in the world of banking. In one of the books, there was a murder in the beginning and kind of a revelation in the end. And so people started calling it a thriller. Then the expectations started coming in from the publisher saying, now your next book has to be a thriller. And then it kind of grew on me. When I started writing, what I expected, what my thoughts were very different from what they are now. early in my writing career, the thought was that for a book to be a good thriller, you need to have a murder in the first 5 pages, okay? So that you ask a question, precisely what Ashwin said, and you build an expectation throughout the book, and you and you solve the puzzle at the end of the book, and after the end, there is another end where there is a twist, okay? And I'm borrowing something which Ashwin had once said, which is, it's like somebody has thrust a knife into your heart, and just imagine, that's not the end of it, okay? And then they just twist it. That, ouch. This could also have happened kind of a thing, gives you that thrill, which stays with you forever. So that was my initial thought. But as I started writing more books, I think, to me now, a thriller is a complete package, okay? It's about, when do people read books? It's about, most people read books on their bedside, right? When they're about to sleep, they read a book. And books put you to sleep, books keep you awake. A thriller should actually be a book where it keeps you awake throughout the night and makes you want to finish the book before you go to sleep. So for me, there are a few things very important. One is, a book should have very short chapters. A thriller should have short chapters, because when you are sleepy and you're reading a book, you invariably, when you reach the end of the chapter, you turn the page and said, okay, fine, the next chapter is 20 pages, I don't want to read it now, I'll read it tomorrow, okay? Or if you see it's 2.5 pages, you say, fine, ek aur pad lete hain, right? And then you keep reading, and by the time you put the book down, you're 200 pages into the book. And then it suddenly is a feeling, oh wow, what a book, I read it so fast. The book has to look good, feel good, read good, ask you the right questions. Every chapter has to leave you on a high. Every chapter has to set your adrenaline pumping. So it's like the entire package is what makes a good thriller. It is not about a murder. It is not about the twist. It's not about the end. It's about how the entire story progresses from chapter to chapter to chapter, the pace of it, and the experience it leaves you with. I think that's what is a good thriller. And I try to do that. So I had, if you look at my books, from the first one to the 10th, my last few books in 300 pages had over 100 chapters. Okay. So you had chapters, the longest chapter was 4 pages long. So it's just, the way you structure the book, the way you write the story, all adds to the overall experience.
What about you, Manjari? I mean, you've been writing thrillers, you've been writing romantic thrillers, you've written children's thrillers. How do you do it when you work on a thriller?
So, well, I've actually started off with cozy mysteries, and then should I say graduated to thrillers? I don't know, but it was cozy mysteries that I started with, and I completely agree with what Ravi and Ashwin have said. There's no point repeating it, but the only thing I'd add to Ravi is the dal tadka thing, is that just as the tadka varies from the dal to dal, हाथ को स्वाद होता है ना, तो हर whoever gives the tadka also, that also matters. Yeah, so from person to person also the tadka differs. And like Ravi said, it has to be a whole package, of course. And my whole focus is always to keep the element of surprise alive. That is always my focus, and it's very difficult, because you have to, deceive the audience, deceive the reader, and yet he has to be happy at the end. This fine balance of keeping him happy and yet deceiving him is the real challenge in writing a thriller, I think, and that's what I focus on.
That's a very interesting point she makes on deceiving the audience. When you write a thriller, you would notice that whenever an author misleads the reader, okay, it's never the author saying something. It's always either circumstances or conversation between the 2 or 3 characters pointing the reader in a different direction. Because if you are misleading the reader, then the reader feels cheated at the end of the book. So, those are small things, but you learn as you go along.
Ashwin, I just wanted to go back to your comparison with James Patterson. Now, you were speaking about how different you are in your approaches to writing, and I remember in Litofest 3 years ago, we had a similar conversation, and for the benefit of those here, I'd like you to revisit that and look at how how different were you and James in your approaches to writing thrillers. And despite that, it worked, and it's obviously worked very well for James, because he's done that in virtually every country in the world. So how is it different from your personal experience?
In the sense that I think I have always been an extended romance guy. You know, that I mean, I like that process of the chocolates and the flowers and the first few dates. James is wham bam, thank you, ma'am. I mean, very clearly. And I think the reason why that combination works between James and me is because of the fact that we have such different approaches to that we write. James's approach is that typically, taking off from where Ravi said, within the first actually page or 2 pages, you should have a corpse. So a dead body should appear, and that's actually pretty much like, to a certain extent, when people ask me what is it that is required for a bestseller, my approach has always been that your first few pages should be like a Bombay pothole where you fall in and can't get out. So if you can do that, then at least you've got the chances of having the person hooked to the story. Then every chapter, I would agree with Ravi that nowadays we are living in very, very short attention spans. I mean, there's a very interesting statistic, Ravi, which emerges from the world of film, that prior to 1960, the average shot length, ASL, what is called in the industry, which is the amount of time that a camera pans before the director yells cut, that used to be between 8 and 11 seconds. Today it's a little between 4 and 5 seconds, because attention span is not there. And in 2013, the attention span was 8 seconds for a human, whereas for a goldfish it was 9 seconds. So I mean, the point is that how do you hold someone's attention? And I think that is the critical element, so that you automatically propel them into the next chapter without giving them the option of having to decide whether they are willing to go forward or not. It should not be something which is a conscious decision. It should be, I have to turn the page. And I think that is really where the research of an Ashwin Sanghi, along with that wham bam, thank you ma'am approach of a James Patterson, probably did the job.
Thanks. Okay, I'm going to posit that there is nothing called a thriller. The thriller is not a genre. The thriller is essentially a question of pacing. So the genres are essentially, you've got crime. So you've got different kinds of thrillers: historical thrillers, crime thrillers, legal thrillers, medical thrillers, banking thrillers now, destination thrillers. We'll come to that as well.
And usually the greatest thrill is at the publisher's end when the book doesn't sell.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, I completely agree. Yes, and yeah. So
No, but why did all of you clap your hands when we talked about publishers at Thrill?
they're
I
so,
would rather have that all of you go out and buy those books and the publisher is very happy.
the thing is that when you look at, so it's actually what the genre that you write is what defines the thriller. So in Ravi's case, for example, you write on banking. It's obviously because that's where you understand the business. But is that something that you always wanted to do? When you said, as you said, you never wanted to start writing thrillers. You wanted to just tell stories. Was banking something that you always wanted to do for all your life? Tell stories on banking? Or is that also something that has just come to be?
My wife is sitting in the front row and she will kind of agree with me when I say that I'm one of the laziest writers around. Right? So when you are a lazy writer, then you are so lazy that you don't want to do research. And the only way you can write a book without doing research is if you write about a subject and a topic that you know very well about. So I've been a banker all my life. My wife's been a banker all her life. Our friends are all bankers. So it's like you don't need too much of a research and too much an effort to actually do the background check on what you're going to write about if it's a story based in banking. Okay. That's the only reason why I started writing in the world of banking. Okay. So that's how my first book happened in the world of banking. And the moment you wrote the first book in the world of banking, it suddenly sprung up as a genre, saying, fine, banking books, banking thrillers, banking fiction, etc., etc. And there's nobody else who writes in that particular world, so write the next one in that. Write the third one in that. So somewhere it was partly what you knew about, partly the fact that the first book in that genre sold well, and hence built your own expectation and the publisher's expectations and the audience expectations. Today, if I suddenly write a book like Ashwin, how many of my readers who read my banking thrillers would buy the book and read? I don't know. Okay, but should I change my writing for that? That's an entirely different debate. Okay, and three, I think if the first book, which is If God Was a Banker, had not sold that well, I'm not sure I'll be sitting here and talking to you about banking thrillers at all. So somewhere your life and your direction gets defined by what you write, how it's received, and the expectations that get built around it. So I would say, when you write, I'm sure there are a lot of aspiring writers here. When you write, don't write in a particular genre. Write what you know about, or what excites you, what you're passionate about. It may not be something you know about, but something you want to know about. Go out, do your research and write. But don't write because E.L. James sells, so let's write erotica. Ashwin sells, so let's write thrillers, or something of that sort. Do what you want to do and probably create a name for yourself in that particular space.
Yeah. So in fact, Ashwin, I want you to talk about the fact that now you write Indic thrillers, what are classically called Indic. The Bharat series is essentially Indic thrillers. It's obviously a space that you have always been fascinated with. Where did your fascination for it start? Where, why, and how? And how have you now kind of sustained it? Because obviously you have to constantly look for new source material. After some time you do run dry. So how did it begin, and how are you kind of sustaining it?
I think the starting point really in terms of being able to sustain is by being a very good observer. I am perpetually, Shatrujit, making notes. Even if I'm in the car and I come across an interesting passage in a book or an interesting web link, or I happen to have seen a very fascinating video, or I could be having this conversation and Ravi ends up mentioning something which strikes a chord with me. I have an email account which only I email myself into that account. Now, during the last about 10 odd years, Gmail was created 2005. I think this account is from 2006 or 7. So about roughly 10 or 12 years. I have emailed myself around 10,000 times. And so that actually is my journal. And it sort of consists of random ideas, jottings, and interesting stuff. And then besides that raw material of ideas, what you also need is a trigger. I have generally found that the trigger is always whiskey. And I'm saying it in all seriousness. The reason for that is because, to give you an example, the Krishna key was at a cocktail party where someone was stoned, was sloshed, for lack of a better word. And he claimed to be the final avatar of Vishnu. And I was stunned. But the next morning, when I was also a little less sloshed, I went back and I researched this, and I was able to get my Chandigarh scholar who helps me with all the Sanskrit translations. And he sent me a copy of the Kalki Puran, which eventually led to the Krishna key. So a lot of those very interesting conversations have happened lubricated by the water of life, as it were. Yeah.
And how often do you, now you said you emailed yourself 10,000 times. How often do you go back and look at what you've documented? Because it's easy to document because it's this big mine.
Yeah.
But then you've got to go back and
Sure.
so how often do you do that?
So typically once I'm done writing a book, once it's been published, and once I've got through the marketing cycle, typically after you've released a book, you know it better than me, probably 4 to 6 months, you're basically nurturing the baby for that much time. But once that marketing cycle is over, then that's the time when I'm looking for, okay, what's next? And that's the time that I end up revisiting those ideas. When I do make notes, my notes are very specific. They don't contain full sentences, but keywords. And the advantage of a Gmail account, of course, is the wonderful Google search. Google Baba works for everything. So Google Baba comes into play here also.
Yeah, Manjiri, we've all heard about destination weddings, but the first time I heard about a destination thriller was when I heard about your book. So I was like, what is a destination thriller? Okay, I'm like, okay. So first of all, whose idea was it to term it a destination thriller? I have more to that, but,
Yeah,
but
that's
first
fine.
tell me this.
Well, it was mine. Yeah, and the reason behind it is that all my novels are based out of Pune. I started writing. My first book was a romance book. It was based in Panhala in Kolhapur in '94. The next book was based in Alibag. So I actually started writing destination thrillers and mysteries long ago. But I actively started doing this, like calling them destination thrillers, with this book called The Trail of Four, which was based. So, but the reason behind is that I felt, Dan Brown goes to Europe and writes a thriller there, and they come to India, like H.R.F. Keating based a whole series of Inspector Ghote mysteries in India. I said, why can I not go as an author and base a mystery in a place which has history, is fascinating, and write a book there? And it also combined with my love for traveling. So I said, how best can I combine this love with writing, that I write a destination thriller?
Okay, so now, so when you go on a trip now, what do you keep in mind? Do you keep in mind that, okay, is there a thriller potential in this destination, or what comes first? Do you first decide that, okay, how do you pick your destination? Is it because it has a thriller in it, or how does it work?
No, so like Ashwin makes notes, I do shootings all the time. My video
Shooting-
camera,
oh, video.
I have a video camera which I take with me everywhere, and I'm always looking at a place through the lens. And I'm looking at it as a potential place for a thriller. And I've done this all my life, like you've made notes. So I've got heaps of videos at home which I've never used, but I know which will be once, one day there'll be a thriller base there. So that's how I look at it. And then once I know that I've liked a place, I look at the history and wonder if I can place the history in a contemporary plot. And that's how it works.
But what comes first? Does the story come first, or does the destination come first?
Well, with the first book in the series, that's Salzburg, based in Salzburg, the place came first because there's a story to it. I'd been there in 2000 for a seminar in this place called the Salzburg Global Seminar. I think some of you may have attended the session in the morning and saw the palace. They showed a palace. And when I stepped inside the palace for the first ever time in 2000, I just looked at the place and I knew that this was where I was going to come back and base a story. It took me 12 long years to go back there, but I went back there in 2014, stayed in the palace for 20 days, came back and researched for a whole year and wrote the book. So the place, I think, for all of us, probably a place triggers something. So I just use that trigger as a destination thriller.
Okay, enough of serious questions. Like, I'm done with it. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I was wondering what was going on.
I know. Even I was wondering what was going on. Okay.
You sent a mail saying you're going to have some fun.
Yeah.
We will. Very soon. One quick question, semi-serious, before we start having fun. As people who write on crime, and in a way, people who write thrillers, there is an element of crime that's always somewhere in the background. As people who write on crime, what is it about crime that fascinates you people? Why is it, are you living your lives vicariously through your characters, through your stories? What is it about crime that fascinates you, that makes you so excited? I'll specifically come to Ravi because his later. But let's start with Ashwin.
Why me? I think he's got criminal tendencies. He's been in banking for the last goddamn 2 decades.
That's exactly, I want to reserve the longest part for him, so that's why I'll come to him last. So let him to get the time to reorient his thoughts on this one.
I think there is a murderer lurking in all of us. That's the truth. There is a darker side. And we don't want to accept it. We think that we are quote unquote good, reasonable human beings. But even the most reasonable human beings can do the most dastardly things if they are put in that particular situation. So I think it's, in some ways, it is also an exploration, because sometimes when I go back and I revisit the plots that I wrote along with James, to be able to sort of figure out that what would be the time taken for a body to be fully drained of blood. That's disgusting stuff that we are sort of figuring out. And, I think there is, And the other part of it, for me at least, is that I also get a kick from the research along the way. For example, when I was writing Private Delhi, I ended up visiting morgues. There were two specific ones that I visited, but the first one that I visited, the stench was so bad because there were gurneys along the corridor which hadn't gone into the autopsy as yet. Because of the heat, the rotting had started. The medical examiner came out and he had a big steel dabba of Vicks Vaporub, which he said कि आप ये यहाँ पर लगा लीजिए so that the smell will not hit you. So those little things that you pick up. I remember when Chanakya's chant was happening, there was a police officer from UP who showed me a rubber pipe which was 2 inches thick, black color, which he said, when I asked him, what is this? He said, it's my Samaj Sudharak. So I said, what is a Samaj Sudharak? He said, इससे हम समाज को सुधार देते हैं. And he says, we can beat you very badly, but there'll be no visible marks on your body. So I think it's also a part of the journey in terms of figuring these things out and then sort of putting it into a coherent story where it still sounds very, very exciting to the person who is reading it.
Thank you.
You know, I think if all of us, particularly Ashwin and me, ever become suspects in a murder case, okay? If we ever become suspects in a murder case, our Google search will nail us.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I agree.
How to commit a murder and not get caught. Okay? What are the poisons which cannot be traced? You know, if you look at the Google search that we do, somebody is going to think that we are all crazy maniacs, man.
Correct. Yeah, Ravi, Ashwin was speaking about the rot that he experienced in the morgue. You deal with a different sort of rot, which is in the financial system. What is it? How do you? Can you take us through some of the stuff that you see you've experienced?
See, if you read my books, the frauds that happen in my books are not very, very complex frauds. They are frauds which people like you and me and basic level people commit in a financial organization. And hence, one thing leads to the other, and then eventually it becomes a big issue. But it all starts with the base level greed, which is there in all of us. And two, I think as a society, morally, we are very, very corrupt. Okay? Very low on integrity. किसी को चूना लगा सकते हैं तो हम लगाएंगे. You know, that is the way we have evolved. I don't know, you know, it's a very controversial statement to make, but go out and look at our society today. That's the truth. And in banks and financial institutions, apart from everything else, you also deal with money, right? And that adds an extremely important element to it. And today, the way banks, financial institutions, etc., are governed at the base level, it's all Ram Bharose. I believe that you are doing your job, you believe your junior is doing his job, and so on. So frauds are like this. If somebody wants to game the system, he can. So it's very easy to figure out frauds and things in which are not going as per norms in the banking industry. What I do is I pick up those elements which can be developed further, which influence or impact your day-to-day life, and then build them in the book, because when a reader reads it, I can't write a book only from my perspective. When a reader reads it, he has to understand what's going on. So you have to dumb down things sufficiently so that the reader, a normal reader, because not everybody is a banker, understand what's going on in that book and why and how that fraud happened. So it's not too difficult. Look, a bank, I keep saying this, a bank today has people, money, relationships, sleaze, greed, fraud, crime, investigation, police, everything that you need. So why do you need to look beyond banks for writing a financial thriller?
Fair enough. Okay. We will come back to research in just a moment. Manjari, your thoughts on?
Well, I feel like killing 100 people every day, and I can't. So then I kill them through my books. It's my only, how should I call it? What's it called? Catharsis, that's the word. Yeah, it's catharsis for me. I really hate people sometimes, and I don't know how to kill them, and I do it through my books.
We are going to come back to this in a little while. We'll put a pin on this. We are definitely going to revisit this one. But very quickly, Ashwin, you spoke about research. And I have something on research, in fact. Research is something that we authors all love doing. So, it's also a way of not writing. So it delays, we can research a little bit more so that we don't need to write. At least that's the way it works for me. So, because I can be sitting and watching Netflix and my dad comes and says, "Kya kar raha hai?" Research.
These days,
And it's easy.
these days, Netflix is also research.
Research, exactly. Everything is research. So, but specific to research, you mentioned the example of the Gurney or your Samaj Sudharak. In the course of all your writing, have you come across a piece of research that you found was so fascinating that you simply had to put in your book, you wanted to put in your book, but couldn't for whatever reason? Or did you put it and you somehow found a way to do it? What is it?
No, in fact, it was the point that I was making earlier related to how much time does it take to drain a body. That if you have a puncture wound in the carotid, how much time would it take before a person is dead? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that figure is about roughly 6 minutes and 28 seconds. And of course, we were using this, Patterson and I were using this in the context of a story in Private Delhi, where death happens through bleeding. But it just sounded very, to a very great extent, it sounded very contrived. And so then, we weren't able to actually utilize the fact that it takes that much time. Instead, we reworked that story because this was a person who was collecting organs, and blood was one of those things that was being collected. But having said that, to go back to your point related to research, for me, the research is the most wonderful phase that I go through, and typically that for the Bharat series book lasts between 9 months and 12 months. So for example, the whole of 6 weeks in this period I've spent traveling China, because the next book in the Bharat series has a strong Chinese element. For me, that whether it is travel, whether it is reading more material, because I develop a reading list. Sometimes it is talking to people. For example, when I was writing the Sialkot saga, I needed people who had lived through the 50s, 60s, and 70s of places like Bombay and Calcutta. And I was looking all around, and then I realized that the greatest resources were my own parents, as well as my editor in Calcutta. So I think sometimes just that process of talking, traveling, reading, meeting people. The Rosabal line was typically meeting lots of people who were experts in that space. I think that is a fascinating journey. And once I'm done with that, then for me to actually put together a plot is not difficult. There is an old proverb which says that if you are going to tell a lie, then tell the lie as close to the truth. And it's your research which makes your lie sound that much more believable. Yeah.
Yeah, Ravi, you said that you hate research. At least you claim to hate research. But now I guess you would be forced, and you live in a business which probably demands some amount of research or rigor. What about you?
Okay, let me just rephrase what I told you earlier. When I started writing, I wrote in the world of banking because I didn't want to do research. But all my books after If God Was a Banker have some element of a non-banking story, which involved a fair bit of research. But the way I do research is a lot like him. These days, you have a lot of internet is your big source of research. You can do a lot of reading. Books you read are a big source of research. For example, when I wrote this book, which was based partly in the US and partly in India, a book which revolved around the gun laws in the US and the gun lobby, I read 4 books on gun laws in the US. And just to get different perspectives. Because as an author, you tend to get biased in your story also by your own perspective. When I wrote this book called In the Name of God, which is based in the Padmanabha Swami temple in Trivandrum, I actually visited Trivandrum and went to the temple, met people around the temple, met a few non-controversial people just to get stories. And when you meet people like these, you actually get stories which you won't even find on the net.
Absolutely.
Okay. For example, my book in the Name of God starts with a body being found in the temple pond. Okay. You try Googling for it, you'll get one article or maybe two articles on it. That's it. But this was told to me by a cab driver in Trivandrum. So now when you start talking to people about these things, you tend to pick up a few issues. And those issues suddenly become so critical that when you put them in the book, they add a huge amount of flavor. Because when people read it, some of them would have heard about it. They talk about it saying, oh my God, I heard about this, but I didn't read about it anywhere else. It's there in the book. So that happens. When I wrote a book on Bitcoins, a book called God is a Gamer, then I had to do a fair bit of research on Bitcoins, read up about it, but that was also because I had interest in that field. And I met a few people who were evangelists in the space of Bitcoins, just to understand their perspective, and also gamers for their perspective in the world of gaming. So even though you can do a lot of these research, your best inputs come from first-hand reports of people who have been doing that in that field and experiencing it on a day-to-day basis.
What about you, Manjari? Do you really, apart from figuring out which is your next destination, what else do you research?
Well, yeah, so with the destination series, what is important for me is that I should write like an insider. Basically, when you're not writing on, in a place in your country, and you're writing about a country you're just visiting, you can't write like an outsider at all. And that is the biggest challenge. So like they did, I go to that place, I meet people, I see what the local customs are, I visit families, I stay there. So read books, internet, walk around, just soak in the thing, lots of video shooting. So I do all that because I don't want anyone to say that here's an Indian author who's come to our country to write this book. I want them to treat the book like an international published book, like you would, So that is the whole concept behind the destination thriller. So this whole process that you're talking about is something that you just have to go through, and it's a very enjoyable process because you're learning so many different things. In my case, even different cultures. And like he went to China, I'm sure he must have, imbibed the culture too. So that's a very important part of the whole writing process, and it's a beautiful, beautiful process.
And also, like what she does, what we also do is, when you go to a particular location, when you travel to a particular location, you also try to figure out, if that location interests you. You tend to end up building that location and stories around that location in your book. For example, we had gone on a vacation to Austria, okay, and in Vienna there was a cafe coffee day outlet, okay, and I was so excited seeing a cafe coffee day outlet in Vienna that that outlet actually forms the backdrop of one of my books, and the mystery gets resolved at that particular outlet. So you tend to do all these things as authors because sometimes you live your life through the books that you write.
Okay, one of the interesting things about, and I think Ashwin, Ravi, and everyone spoke about, is that thriller writers love to surprise readers. The element of surprise is critical to thriller writing. So what we are going to do is we are going to spin it the other way around, and we are going to surprise these people a little bit. Okay, we're going to have some fun now. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to play truth or, for me, and us, the rest of us, we're going to play truth or dare. So Ashwin, truth or dare? Which do you pick?
Truth or dare?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to play with you.
There's nothing truthful about me.
No. I'm going to ask you. So are you going to?
At the time when I had just started out as a writer, the first thing that a press wala asked me is that you have no qualifications to be a writer. You're an MBA in finance. I said, one thing, during my growing up years, the one thing that my mother told me was that I was a bloody good liar. And so that's what I've carried on doing as a writer in my life. because fiction writers have to be bloody good liars. So now you've asked me the question, truth or dare. So I'm, for a minute, wondering that the answer that I give you, how much of it will you believe?
Will I believe? So I think I'll go for dare then. Okay, so I'm going to go with dare, considering that you're not going to be telling the truth, which is also unlikely that you're going to be, but let's see. Tell us something about your books that you are extremely unhappy about and you wished you could do better.
Well, frankly, I think most of my books, because the biggest problem, there are two areas where you balance on books. One is the element of research versus the element of story, and that's always a trade-off. And I think the second place where you tend to balance is between surprise and suspense. And again, that's a trade-off, because if there is an assassin lurking in this room, then that is suspense. But on the other hand, in case that assassin turns out to be someone that I would least expect, then that's your surprise element. So I think for me, the challenge with the first novel was that there was just so much research that I had to put it all there. And I compromised on the story. And I was all over the place. The Rosabal line happens over 5,000 years. It moves seamlessly between ages. And very often I still get asked when I go for festivals and literature events, that what brand of weed were you smoking when you wrote the Rosabal line? Because it's just all over the place. So I think we as writers, we are all work in progress. And with every book, we know something that we did wrong with the previous book, which we need to sort of work on. But of course, it also implies that there are people who come back to me and say, why can't you write with the same abandon
That you
wrote that first book?
Correct. That's true. Okay, Ravi, what about you? Truth or dare? Truth. Okay, good. Tell us about one characteristic in you that you hate as an author.
One characteristic that I hate as an author. Well, I love my life as an author. Yeah. There's nothing I hate about being. Okay, yeah.
It had to come, yeah.
The one characteristic that I hate in my life as an author, not about me as an author, in my life as an author, is that promoting a book actually takes the hell out of you. You know, if you have to travel to multiple locations, you have to keep doing events, and then somebody comes and says, "Sir, I read your first book," and then you turn around and say, "What about the 9 in between?" You know, I've written my 10 books. So what about second, third, fourth, fifth? And you're here. So so and the questions that get asked are often the same. So sometimes promoting a book can get tedious.
Very taxing.
Yeah.
Very taxing. Yeah.
And then there's no point not promoting a book, because you spent a year writing a book. Might as well spend the next 2 months, 3 months promoting a book and making sure that people know about it and go ahead and read the book.
And the other thing, Shatrujit, is that, it was our Ernst Hemingway who said that write when drunk and edit when sober.
Yes.
Yeah. And I have a slight different sort of take on it.
Okay.
Write when drunk, edit when sober,
Okay.
get up the next morning. Marketing is the hangover.
Hangover. Yes.
So
Yes. That's a good
the
one.
most difficult thing that we do as writers is marketing.
Yeah, I completely agree, because it also it's something that takes you away from what you love doing. Yeah, that's.
And now that you got me started on what I hate as being an author, I would love it if I could write the first draft and be done with it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, but as an author, I end up reading that book 20 times.
Yes.
Okay, or even maybe more than 20 times, and so much so that I have never ever read a completed book of mine.
Correct. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
So I just don't read a book after it's published.
You're done with it. You're just completely done. Yeah, correct. True. Okay, Manjari, truth or dare?
Truth.
I'm happy that she picked truth because have you ever based a character on a real person whom you disliked and then done horrible things to that person? Yeah, I know. But now, considering you spoke about that, you hated 100 people. So
Well, okay, I have not.
that's
No.
a lie. That is a lie. That is a lie.
I have not.
You just
I
20
said-
minutes ago.
No, so I said I want to kill 100 people, but then I kill my characters as a catharsis.
Yeah, but that means, in other words, there are 100 people that you hate,
hate,
from
yes.
your heart, from your soul.
Yes, but I haven't
जिनका
based
मन होता है
characters
कि
on
भैया
them.
इनका कत्ल कर दो.
But I haven't based characters on them. I just kill my characters and think, I wish this was that person. That's what I do.
Like a voodoo doll,
Yes,
exactly.
like I wish this was the person who had died. I'm sorry, not that bad, but
But close.
yeah, but close, yeah.
Okay.
You never based a character on people you know?
Not at all. I don't even take names. I have all imaginary
No,
characters.
not names, but
No,
based
not
on.
even no. It's only imagination.
All of us do that, yeah,
I
Manjari.
dream of my
Oh,
characters.
come on. कितना लपेट रही हो? All of us,
I know.
all of us, we look at certain
Okay, if you
people
want
and there
proof-
are, okay,
If
we
you
may
want
not.
proof, I can
Yeah.
give you proof.
Yeah.
None of my books sell. And that is the proof because I don't write realistic characters. I write only imaginary
You know
characters.
what?
And the public does not relate to those characters.
You-
That's why the books don't sell.
You must say that all the 100 characters are there in that book. At least those 100 people will buy to find out whether they are there. You must do that from now onwards. Okay.
So Ashwin, I think I've satisfied you, right?
He's not, but
You are. Okay.
We'll carry on this discussion post the
Afterwards,
session.
okay.
offline, as they say. Yes. Okay. Very quickly, we don't have too much time. Okay. I'm going to do a very quick rapid fire with Ashwin. Name a thriller that you wish you had written.
Kiss the Girls, James Patterson.
James Patterson. Okay. One genre that you will never write.
Romance.
Okay. Yeah. If somebody said you.
Sorry.
I don't believe you.
No, I'll tell you. What I was comparing the romance to was my process of writing is like an extended romance
Okay.
versus James Patterson's Wham Bam Thank You
Thank You,
Ma'am.
Ma'am. Okay.
It was not in the context
Of romance as a genre.
but romance,
Ashwin.
honestly, I think it's better left to Durjoy Datta, Ravinder Singh, and you
No,
know.
but Ashwin, you just said that there's a murderer in all of us.
Yes.
And that's why we write crime thrillers.
Yes.
So, you're not romantic at heart?
You know, I hate this
are,
guy.
You are.
Yeah.
You will be dead in one of my books. Trust me. But
You know, I must also tell you that this man has a habit of threatening people on stage. The last time, 3 years ago, he threatened to sit on me. I mean, like, खुलेआम
Ravi चाबी लगाता
चाबी
है.
लगाता है वो मैं मानता हूँ
चाबी लगाता है, and he does it purposely every time on stage. You know, we are not going to go into the context of the number of panels that Ravi and I have been on, which have ended up with 2 or 3 of the other panelists walking out.
walking out. Okay.
So
we're close. Are we close?
no,
No, we are
no,
not.
but
Okay.
he had a relevant question though, that there obviously is a certain part of your character which is there, whether it is the romantic, whether it's the murderer, whether it's the scientist, whether it's the questioner, philosopher, it's there in all of us. But some of those elements excite you more. And I think for me, the historical element, the
murderer.
mythological,
The
the
murderer.
murder element, the crime element, even the political angle of a conspiracy or the what if, those are the things which excite me far more.
Okay. Next question. Who makes a better Sherlock? Robert Downey Jr. or Benedict Cumberbatch?
Sorry, come again?
Robert Downey Jr. or Benedict Cumberbatch?
What?
Who
What
makes
is
a
the
better
question?
Sherlock? Who makes a better Sherlock?
Downey.
Downey. Okay. Complete the line. James Patterson is a great author because.
It depends, of course. Sorry, I didn't get a very. It
depends on the answer.
Ashwin,
no,
this
and
is
it
a
also
rapid
and it
fire.
also
Tell him
depends.
this is a rapid
It depends
fire.
on where you're coming from.
But
I
this
mean,
is a
what you
rapid
want
fire.
out of a.
Ashwin, this is a rapid fire. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
I just mentioned that I'm a romantic.
Romantic, I know. Okay. Complete the line. James Patterson is a great author because.
Broad brush strokes, very, very broad brush strokes. I can take I'll send him a manuscript which is 100,000 words, and he'll bring it down to 65,000. We don't need to have this. If, for example, there is a situation where a guy and a girl get to know each other, I'll use 3 chapters, getting them to know each other, he'll say, let them sleep together in chapter 3. Pretty much that.
Yeah. Last one. Your dream actor to play Chanakya in Chanakya's chant.
Well, I think it needs to be someone earthy, probably like a Manoj Bajpayee type character. Because Chanakya was not one of those.
Dudes.
He wasn't a dude.
Correct.
So in that sense, I think probably more of a grounded, earthy actor would be able to do justice to that role.
Okay. Ravi, John Grisham, Holland Coben, or Dan Brown? Take a pick.
All of them.
No, you got to take one.
Grisham.
Grisham. Okay. Your favorite writing spot?
Well, the sofa in my living room with my leg on top of the center table, and my wife locked up watching TV so that she doesn't see my legs. like
Leg on the
this.
table.
Yeah.
Okay. Christopher Nolan wants to make a book of yours into a movie. Which book would you recommend?
If God Was a Banker.
Complete the line. The best thing about money is.
You can make more of it.
Just one word of advice to an aspiring author. One word.
Be original.
That's 2 words, but okay, original. Okay. Manjari, what is the first thing you do when you complete writing a book?
I cry.
We were talking about that.
Yeah,
I think,
with relief. I cry with relief.
Oh, that's more like me, I guess.
Yeah.
If you wrote a romantic thriller, would your hero be like Jane Austen's Darcy or Wuthering Heights Heathcliff?
Darcy.
Okay. All expenses paid thriller destination: Peru, Egypt, Mongolia.
Peru, Egypt. Egypt.
Egypt. Okay. One thing that you're absolutely terrified of?
Snakes.
Snakes. Agatha Christie, P.D. James, or Dorothy Sayers?
Agatha Christie.
Obviously. Okay. Yeah. So, okay, we are very close to the end. Can we take a few questions?
1 minute 26 seconds.
Maybe 2-3 questions? We can. Yeah. So we should actually have more questions than that, but let's.
Yeah, so my question is to Ashwin Sanghi sir. I just read the book Sialkot Saga and I was amazed in the manner in which you were using historical events in a fictional form. So sometimes, historical figures might hurt some people's sentiments and all that. So how do you take that into consideration while writing? Even for Manjari ma'am, like when you write anything related to history, how do you take those sentiments into consideration?
So it's far easier to write actually ancient history because they've been dead and gone for such a long time that usually people don't take offense. But if you're writing in the current day, in let's say, Sialkot Saga is written within the last 70, 80, 100 odd years. So if you notice, what I've done is I've not made my historical characters into characters of the novel. So it's not as if they are having conversations. It's not as if their point of view is coming across. They are simply props. So in that sense, you have you're playing a safer wicket. But yes, you're right. It goes with the territory. When you're looking at a historical novel, it goes with the territory that someone might take offense.
Not many people do read books, right?
Yeah. You're lucky. Ravi is saying that not many people read the books to start with.
Yeah, so basically I always like to play it safe, and since I'm basing destination thrillers in another country, I like to respect that country and not use sensitive material or not use names or not use religions as a part of the plot. I try to keep it very simple.
Yeah. So the Uzaba line had a lot of research gone into it, and the Uzaba line had a lot of research gone into it, and it had a lot of controversial content as well. So how did you deal with it? I mean, did you face any trouble because of that, because of the content?
No, obviously there were people who took offense to it. Even till today, I have one gentleman who sends me an email every morning, which now goes into my spam box, which is basically a verse from the Bible, because he says that if I don't read it, then my soul will be damned. But having said that, if you're going to start wondering about how something is going to be taken, you'll never end up writing. But yes, that you may not need to think along those lines if you're writing, let's say, a typical romance novel. But for the sort of spaces that I am writing in, which is historical, mythological, theological, religious, there is no way that you can write those books without rubbing someone the wrong way. But yes, I do believe that if you can approach the subject with a sense of respect. So for example, when I wrote the Rosabal line, It wasn't because I was trying to commit blasphemy and say that the resurrection never happened. I was attempting to say that, hey, listen, I'm proud of the fact that Jesus Christ may have come and eventually settled down in India. So if you're approaching the subject with a sense of respect, then I think it comes across in your writing.
This question is for Ravi Subramaniam. I want to ask you whether, when you write, are your books more plot-driven or character-driven?
I would like to believe that my books are more plot-driven, but even to write a good plot-driven book, you need to have well-flushed-out characters and characters that make sense. But as far as I'm concerned, it's entirely plot is the king, and I focus a lot on the plot than on the characters. Characters are built along the way, and so is the plot. But
Okay,
thrillers per se, according to me, are more plot-driven than any other genre of books. Though there are many who disagree with me on this, but if you read all the good thrillers, all the best-selling thrillers, most of them are plot-driven.
Yeah. Okay, we're really running short of time, so we will not be able to take any more questions right now. But I'm sure the gentleman and the lady here are available. You can talk to them. They're not in a hurry to go away. I hope they are around. So the important thing is that I just hope you had a wonderful time. You had fun, and the most important thing is that you learned something about cracking the thriller code from the masters. Thanks a lot.